welcome to episode 90 of PauseCast. It is Thursday, the 16th of August, 2018. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
This is the show where we talk about video games. Was the subject of some debate in our Twitch chat earlier, but I don't think they're real.
No, but we just play along. It's kind of an intergenerational joke now. It's been going on for so long. So, I mean,
That's
occasionally
weird.
We can talk about it. Honestly, it's just more fun to keep pretending.
Yeah, I mean, like, all the kids have crafted this illusion. They've called it Fortnite, and really what they're doing is they're just building, like, forts out of cardboard, and they're building forts out of, like, couch mattresses and stuff like that. And they're pretending to fight other players in them. Like, it's such a weird concept. So, but that's what the kids are doing. They're just making stuff out of mattresses, and they're calling it Fortnite.
I'm now looking at my bed, thinking how I could turn it into a fort. I gotta stop.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. My bed's right next to me. Literally did the same thing. I actually grabbed the underside of the mattress. I want to be very clear about what I just did. I grabbed the underside of the mattress as I was talking about building forts in Fortnite, and again, a fictional game that children are playing. I actually was physically grabbing my mattress when I was doing that, so, like, you know.
I'm a little too far away from that, but I am basically wearing a blanket because I'm always cold.
That's true, you are always cold. It is ridiculous how cold you always are. And you know, okay, but let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else is really, really cold?
I'm trying to think of witty response, but no, I don't.
Sub-Zero.
Who's that? Is that a person?
You don't know anything about Mortal Kombat at all, do you? I mean, I don't blame you because, like, it definitely seems like it's the kind of game that you would maybe, you know, maybe want to steer clear of personally.
I was thinking I might be able to name a character from it in order to prove that I do, but I can't. I don't know anything about it. I know it's a fighting game, and that the most recent one lets you see X-rays of people breaking.
Yep, like Sniper Elite.
Yes, I've played that. Didn't end up buying it.
It's kind of like that. It's like Sniper Elite, but
I think I played a Mortal Kombat game once, and I just got confused because I lost, and then they made my eyeballs explode or something.
I was surprised that you didn't know who Sub-Zero was, though. Like, genuinely.
Oh, it doesn't sound... Wait. That's like the palette-swapped yellow one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There's Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
That's the one I was trying to think of. I remember people talking about Scorpion, like, in primary school.
Really?
Yeah. Like not just Scorpions the animals, but like this Scorpion character from
like Mortal Kombat Scorpion.
Yeah.
In primary school.
Yeah.
What are the kids doing? That's an R18 game. How are kids getting their hands on Mortal Kombat?
I mean, this was a while ago, I don't know. I didn't have it.
Oh god. I cannot imagine. No. I cannot imagine having played Mortal Kombat as a kid.
Well, I don't know. Maybe the kids who were talking about it had older siblings who played it or something.
Maybe, yeah. They shouldn't be watching that, though. Good lord.
Shit happens.
It's very graphic.
I mean, the older ones probably weren't as realistic, at least.
Yeah, this, like, Mortal Kombat X, which is the most recent entry, and it's the one that I have been playing.
It's all live action, right?
No, it is not all live action. Of course not. But, like, damn, it's got some fun stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of buried in there. I've been playing through a bunch of the, like, story mode, because here's the thing about me in fighting games. I don't know if you know this about me in fighting games, but I'm really fucking bad at fighting games. And I'm mad that I'm bad at fighting games, despite having put virtually no time into that. Like, I have seen this phenomenon described online as the gifted child syndrome, and it feels very accurate.
Like, you feel like you should just automatically be good at it?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, that was the way I was conditioned kind of as a child. I feel like I should be good at the thing immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was always told, oh, you're so good at this thing right away.
Mm-hmm. Then you find the one thing you're not. It's like, this can't be real.
Yep. Or just, like, give up instantly. Like, try to learn 3D modeling, and it's like, I can't figure this out. Give up.
Oh, I actually had that.
Into it.
It was embarrassing. I downloaded Blender when I would have been like 14 or something. And I remember at one point I made the most awful human face. And then another time I tried to make something, I just decided, I guess it's a giraffe's head, because I don't know what else it looks like.
Okay.
It was amazing. I wish I still had like screenshots, but I'm also kind of glad I don't.
Fair enough, yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
So, yeah, summary. I'm bad at fighting games. I'm mad that I'm bad at fighting games. And I'm playing more fighting games, so I stopped being mad at fighting games. It's working, as it turns out.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I've been playing... So the main thing I've been doing in Mortal Kombat is I've been playing the story mode. There is actually a story mode, believe it or not.
But although when you say story mode, is it just a series of fights and that's it? Because I've seen fighting games with that as their story mode before, and that was it.
I'm going to assume that you said just a series of fights.
Yes. Sorry, did I cut out?
Yes, you did really, really badly.
Ugh.
It kind of is like that's the core conceit is still, a series of fights. Mm-hmm. You'll play through 4 fights as each individual character in each chapter.
And how many characters are there?
Not sure how many are actually put to use in the story mode, but so far it's been a pretty consistent, like, I'm fighting through this story as, like, one character for 4 fights in a row, and then it shifts perspective to another character.
Oh, okay, right.
There's also, like, fully animated and voice acted and all of that cinematics in between, which I have been really impressed with, weirdly enough.
That's good.
Yeah, like, they have some really, really wild, like, visuals and cinematography and effects going on, and even though the story... I don't want to call it bare bones, because it leans very, very heavily into, like, a lot of Mortal Kombat lore that I know very, very little about, but, like, there's all these kind of references to various treatises and, like, the politics of the world.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah,
from the, very little I know about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, no, there's like a whole bunch of politics in Mortal Kombat X of all places. It's kind of weird. I don't know fully what to think about that, but like, there's all kinds of political dealings and like, again, like treatises between the realms, the Nether realm, the Outworld, Earth realm. Oh no,
I just realized a bad thing when you said Nether.
Oh god.
Mortal
Is
Kombat
it about
X
Minecraft?
Mortal Kombat X sounds like a porn parody.
Ugh. No, that's Mortal Kombat XXX, first of all.
I mean, yeah, but X could do it.
X, you know what? X might give it to you.
Well played. Okay, yeah.
See also Mortal Kombat Gex?
Everyone's a gecko.
It's tail time.
Oh my god. I remember that.
It's a thing he says.
Yeah.
It's tail time.
Goodness.
So yeah, Mortal Kombat. Kind of enjoying that, actually.
Nice.
Dr. Mittens in the chat asks, have you played Skullgirls? That has a fairly good story. I've avoided Skullgirls. And I think I will continue to do so. I don't like a lot of the aesthetics that it has going on, and so I've just kind of subsequently avoided that game.
I don't know that I've seen it.
Like the art style, something about it doesn't resonate with me.
Fair enough.
So I've just kind of avoided it.
Yeah, I get games like that as well, where I might enjoy the gameplay, but there's just something about the art style that I'm not into, and I just don't end up picking them up.
Yeah. Like, I've seen people talk about, I think it's, what is it? Oh, I'm trying to remember the Shantae. That's the name, Shantae, which are like a very well respected like series of platformers.
Okay.
But they haven't. I've seen a lot of people who are repulsed by the Shantae games because it has this art style that a friend, I would say, generously compared to a Newgrounds kind of porn parody animation, like My First Flash kind of situation.
I'm looking it up because I've never seen it before.
It's got a lot of there's a lot of big boobs.
Right.
Let's be honest. There's a lot of big boobs. It's a very outwardly horny game.
Okay.
Which I like.
Damn it! Wikipedia has no pictures of it.
Mechanically, it plays well from what I have heard, but like the art style definitely could be seen as repulsive to specific audiences. I'll say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I just found one. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean.
You see it for the first time and you just like instantly know what I'm talking about, huh?
Yeah.
Like it feels like someone has drawn up a very, very porny Flash game.
Yes, it. Oh my god. Yes, it exactly looks like that. I'm going to close that tab now.
Yardome737 in the chat says that Shantae had boob jiggle back in the Game Boy Color game, which, given the size and animation of those sprites, that's a very specific choice.
Oh,
like I said,
such
that game
weird history with that, don't they?
Yeah, that like I said, that game is very, very outwardly horny. It is unashamedly horny, I would even say. I'm saying horny way too much. I need to stop that. Do you want to talk about your thing?
Yeah, so I mentioned last week that all I've been playing was Fallout 4, and I was planning on playing a bunch more. So, of course, I haven't touched it. Instead, I just kind of got a hankering to play with some miniatures, so I ended up thinking, oh wait, I own a game that's literally based off a tabletop miniature game that I really enjoyed. So I picked up Battletech again. So I've talked about this before. I've played through the whole story before, but in July they patched it, and I started a new campaign and then quickly fell off because I just finished it, and it felt weird going from the end game right back to the start again.
Right, yeah.
But I've been able to get back into it this time, which has been really nice. And it feels so different the second time through. Not because of the adjustments they've made so much as the things that I know from my first playthrough. I hadn't realized how much of a difference it made. So some of the things they changed, they added more customizable difficulty. So I think the only thing I've really done there is now when I get a new mech, it is stripped of parts. It doesn't come fully equipped with all of its weaponry and stuff, whereas previously it did. I remember in my first campaign, I had a kind of weird thing where I'd gotten a mech out of storage, and my mech techs were spending days putting all of the weapons that were normally on it onto it. And then the day before it was ready, I blew one up in a fight and then had enough to get it. So I actually got a fully equipped one from there and just could have not spent the money and time getting the other one out of storage. And it felt kind of jarring to have that. I can't have that problem now. I've made things a bit harder for myself, but also the stuff that I really know has made the game a lot easier. They've also increased the variety of difficulties, so that's enabled me to pick some harder missions, which has kind of offset that a bit. So I tried a mission that had a couple of heavy mechs in the opposing force, where I only had 3 mediums and a light. So that was nice. You know, I was outgunned, but fighting against AI, so I could still win.
Do you mind if I sidebar about customizable difficulty really quickly?
Yeah, go for it. 'Cause it's
Have you heard about Shadow of the Tomb Raider and their difficulty choices coming up?
I have not.
Okay, so Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is coming out in a couple of months, latest game in the Tomb Raider series, has three difficulties that you can customize when you start a new game. And presumably at any point during the game as well, if you need to make adjustments. The first is combat difficulty. Very specifically combat difficulty. Adjusting ammo drop rates, how much health enemies have, how accurate they are, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So you can tweak those. Can you tweak those things individually?
No, you can. There's like a broad like combat difficulty adjustment. They might add more. They might add more in the future, but the initial version is launching with like this little bit of customizability in the difficulty. So they have the combat difficulty. They have a traversal difficulty as a second thing, which you remember how Tomb Raider 2013, there was all those objects that were like highlighted in, like they had the white paint all over them, so you could tell this is climbable.
Yep.
You can adjust basically how intense that effect is.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Making it like very obvious to less obvious if you prefer, trying to figure that environmental stuff out a little bit more.
That sounds like a good accessibility thing as well.
Yeah, and they also have puzzle difficulty. So if you wanted to highlight, hey, here is all of the things that you need to interact with in this puzzle to progress, you can enter the survival instincts mode, the Batman supervision kind of thing. You can enter that and see those critical path items highlighted. You can also see... You can see all items highlighted as well on the normal difficulty. Just anything that is interactive in the puzzle. It may not be, critical path stuff, but it'll show you it all.
Right.
Or you can just turn it off entirely.
I love customizable difficulty stuff, honestly. I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm struggling a bit. But I have found
before...
Dishonored? Dishonored I haven't played enough of to know where I fit with the right difficulty.
Right, yeah.
But just... I have had games where easier changes things I don't like and harder changes things I don't like, but I'd want this perfect balance. And sometimes customizable difficulty has been just what I need, so it's really great that it's happening more and more often. Right. It's really cool to hear that that's coming out in another AAA game that's on the way.
Yeah, that was sorry, I have interrupted your Battletech
No, it was a really good aside. But yeah, so I was talking about how it was easier this time than the last time I went through. So first time I went through, there's sort of a couple of things to experiment with. One is the combinations of skills that you can give your mech warriors, because there's a pretty limited number of combinations you can have. And the other is how you configure your mechs, what weapons you put on them. And that can vary a bit depending on if you get like a really nice version of this weapon, you're going to use that. The one thing that's made this playthrough a lot less annoying is previously I picked a skill combination for my main character, which I ended up not actually liking very much. Whereas this time I've picked one that I already knew from previous experience I'd enjoy using. And I know, like, this person, I'm aiming them to fill this role in combat, so this skill combination works for that. Instead of trying to think it out, I've already experienced someone with those skill combinations. I know how I can use them. That's really nice. And I'm also trying to use different mechs from previously where I can, just because I haven't used those before, and I can see how they go and if they're better or worse or whatever. So that's really nice. And also just general strategic things like how flanking enemies can help, which you figure out pretty quickly. But still, having done it before makes it easier to do again. You know which mechs are going to be able to flank better and stuff. And just general things like when to brace instead of shooting, or when to reserve your action, how to safely hit something with a big giant robot fist, and then also run away before it shoots back. Or hit it again and not take as much damage. So it's easier this time, so it's good to be able to also hit some of the more difficult missions from where I'm at. But like I said, the main reason that I'd felt drawn back to it is just I just wanted to play with miniatures, and it feels like that in a really good way. I've mentioned before, I think in the context of Space Pirates and Zombies, that feeling of like collecting things in a game, and I don't just mean general collectibles like, you know, feathers in Assassin's Creed or whatever. I mean like in Space Pirates and Zombies, you would collect spaceships that you could be, and it felt like once you had them to select from, you had this sort of, I don't know, it felt like a box of miniatures, honestly. And Battletech's kind of the same. Like once you get a mech, you feel like you have that in your box and you can pull it out, and it's just, I don't know if it's just me, but there's something really satisfying about that feeling.
Do you get that with Diablo or like other loot games, do you feel?
No, I think games with more customizable or sort of randomly generated stuff don't quite feel the same or cause the same feeling. So like XCOM, for example, it's pretty similar to the whole playing with miniatures thing, but they have a lot of different skill combinations. You can customize how they look a lot, as well as different weapons. So I don't get the same kind of feeling. I love the XCOM games, but it's not quite the same because you can customize them so much. There, it's more a matter of maybe collecting the different classes, and then once you've customized them, you leave like that, and they're still satisfying to have, but it's not quite the same as I've finally gotten enough salvage from this specific mech I've been fighting against that now I have one that I can use.
Right.
Which is actually kind of the same way that Space Pirates and Zombies did. You had to destroy ships and pick up data from them that you could use to figure out how to build the ship yourself.
I feel like I get a bit of the same feeling out of not Diablo, but out of Destiny.
Yeah?
Weirdly, because I have an armory of weapons and armor that I will pull out for various uses. It's definitely not quite the same feeling, but like, you know, you have it in reserve and you can pull it out because it's your like, oh, this is my like favorite SMG and it's great for this specific task, or I'm going to go do the raid, so I'm going to grab this, like, the rocket launcher and the, like, basically laser pointer that I have to irritate the boss with.
Yeah. So I think part of the thing that detracts from this in Diablo is just that things aren't tied super tightly to their appearance.
No,
so, like, you can change how your equipment looks so it doesn't feel as much like something you've collected as just a set of stats.
And it's more disposable, too.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I feel like Destiny stuff tends to not feel as disposable to me because, one, I end up, you know, keeping on coming back to it, and there's fixed roles on all of the items right now. It's going to change in September, so we'll see how that feels. But the current state of Destiny, every weapon is a fixed role. So it means that I have an armory of things that's just like, oh, yeah, you know what, I got this, and I know it's the same as... I know it has the same properties as a lot of other people's weapons, but, you know, like, I've put my own spin on it. I've put my own shader, and I have something that feels personal still, and I have my own personal reasons to use this at any given time. I'm not, by any definition, a slave to the meta of that game.
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
So I'm not just using... you know, like, oh, I'm going to use this specific weapon because it is the best thing that is available right now. Oh,
right, yeah.
If I'm using a thing, it's because, oh, I like how this feels better than I like, you know, how this other thing feels.
Yeah.
It was kind of the same when I was playing PUBG for quite a while. It was like, I'm using weapons that are suboptimal by the standards of, like, you know, the community, what the community at large tends to think about this weapon. But I continue to use it because I like how it feels, and I have, like, I've tuned that in for me.
So that's a really interesting point. I think, you know, that I don't much like playing competitive multiplayer games.
No,
and I haven't really thought so much about the concept of how freeing it can be by setting yourself apart from the community or not taking part. You don't even know about that stuff to have to avoid it. It's just what you decide you enjoy using, and it might end up aligning, but at least you've made the decision. I think this is why I don't tend to go and look up strategies for Monster Hunter and stuff like that, because I really like finding my own way to do it. And people who do, like, that's fine. They're enjoying the game. That's what the game's for. But I really like being able to step apart from that. I don't know, maybe that's antisocial, but I enjoy it.
Maybe I gotta get you into... maybe I should drag you into Destiny Hell next time a free weekend comes up and see how you feel about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know how I'd feel about it until I play it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you generally like FPSs, right? And
I don't actually play many shooters. Fallout is the first one I've played in quite a while.
Right.
I don't tend to like Twitch-based shooters, so I'm not going to play like Call of Duty and Overwatch and stuff, even the single-player side of it.
Which, like, you don't have to, like, there's multiplayer stuff in Destiny that you could totally avoid.
Oh, yeah. No, I know that it's Destiny is mainly PvE.
The PvP is bad, anyway.
I mean, I just always think that.
I mean, I continue to play it, but it's bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Speaking of competitive multiplayer games...
Yeah.
Call of Duty Black Ops IV.
There are so many Call of Duty games.
There are so many Call of Duty games across so many different timelines and series, and...
Is this one in the future again? I lose track.
This is like a near future sci-fi thing. It's not like Infinite Warfare, that was the Guns in Space one. That was the Guns in Space one. With laser guns and, like, far future sci-fi.
Okay.
That one I quite enjoyed, by the way. You may recall from previous episodes in which I have discussed it. Black Ops 3 was the prior entry to this. It's near future, had some jetpacks. It did some weird stuff with the multiplayer, like adding ultimate abilities and stuff that made Call of Duty feel a little bit more like Overwatch, which is kind of a weird thing. But I played the closed beta. I have some things to say about it, but the first thing I need to say about Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is, holy shit, that logo.
I hadn't seen it until Jess showed me before the show, and fucking hell, what were they thinking? I mean, the shield thing is fine, but like, it doesn't mean 4.
No, the way that they have done 4, for the unfamiliar, is there is 4 Roman numeral 1s, which is not how you would do 4 in Roman numerals. You would do in Latin characters IV. What Call of Duty Black Ops 4 has done is they have done I, which is very, very silly. The actual logo itself, like, looks fine, and you could divorce it from a number pretty easily.
So looking at that, I would have just thought it was called Call of Duty Black Ops, and then been confused because I knew there was already a game with that name.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of a weird decision overall.
They should have just changed the A in black to be 4.
Oh, God.
That's how you do it, right?
Yeah, I guess, actually. You know what? I think I would have preferred that. Now that I thought about it at first, and I was like, oh, that feels like just kind of weird and shitty. And then I thought about it some more. I was like, you know what? Actually, no, this is what Call of Duty deserves.
And then the next one, you can replace the S with a 5.
Oh, God.
I don't know where you put a 7 or a 6.
Yeah, no, it works. I mean, Resident Evil 7 did some fun stuff with that 7. I'll show you.
Turn into a giraffe.
I don't quite know what you're talking about there.
Let me look at the logo again.
Okay.
To make sure I'm thinking of the right one.
You do that.
No, I'm not thinking of the right one. Sorry.
No, I'll show you what Resident Evil 7 did after the show. But yeah, I tried the PC beta of Black Ops 4. So aside from the logo being bad, I have some like actual thoughts on what this video game is.
Sorry, they turned the 6 into a giraffe, but go on.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Resident Evil 6 was a giraffe. I think we had this discussion on the show prior.
I'm sure we did.
So, PC beta impressions of Black Ops 4. First, wow. Nobody knows what to do in Call of Duty when it is not a straight team deathmatch. Like, no longer is there just a team deathmatch mode available to select for the multiplayer. At least not in this beta. Instead, there's a playlist called Chaos.
What, a playlist?
Yeah.
I understand that in the context of music.
The playlist includes... So, I want to talk... let's talk about playlists in video games. Let's talk about Titanfall 2.
Okay.
Which had a similar kind of concept, but they called it the mixtape.
Which also sounds like music.
Yeah, both of these are music things that have been turned into video game things. So the Titanfall mixtape, what you would do is when you load up the multiplayer, you would select, okay, what modes do you actually want to get matched into? Because there are seven different modes for Titanfall, from objective-based stuff to a mode called Bounty Hunt, which is probably my favorite multiplayer mode in any competitive shooter in a long time. Thank you, Titanfall. But it lets you choose what modes exactly you want to be matched into.
Can you just pick one?
Yeah, you can just pick
cool.
one, but you could also pick many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is your mixtape. It'll do matchmaking for all of those match types and put you in a rotation of all of those match types. So you could get one that's a bounty hunt, and then you'll go one that's a more standard team deathmatch.
Okay.
And Call of Duty Black Ops 4 has done something similar with this playlist. It's you'll choose this playlist and it'll match you into these specific modes. In this case, Team Deathmatch and Kill Confirmed.
I thought you said there was no Team Deathmatch.
There's no just Team Deathmatch option. There is just this playlist that includes it.
Oh, sorry.
As well as this other mode, which is called Kill Confirmed.
So in this case, you don't get to pick and choose which modes are included. It just has a bunch.
Yeah, it has a whole bunch in a playlist that you can just choose which ones you want to play in the most.
Wait, so you could choose to only play Team Deathmatch?
No. Am I wording this poorly? I feel like I am.
I think I get it now. I was just confused. So wait, I'm just not sure now how much you can tweak it.
You have several options for different playlists. You will pick a playlist, and the playlist has a rotation of different modes.
Okay. You pick one, you don't customize your own.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Following along?
Yep.
Great. In the only playlist that has Team Deathmatch, which is called Chaos, it also has this other mode in there called Kill Confirmed. Simple enough premise, what Kill Confirmed is. If you get a kill, you have to then confirm it by collecting an item that drops from your victim.
Have they just basically canonized that thing where people go and squat over people they killed?
No, because you'll be moving too quickly.
Okay, good.
Thankfully, like, you don't have to actually do an action, you just have to run over the item. But nobody runs over the item, because this is a Call of Duty game and people are just expecting to play nothing but Team Deathmatch, apparently. And so when it comes to actually confirming kills, matches tend to go on for a very long time because nobody's actually doing the objective thing that you're supposed to do in that mode.
I wonder if, since this is a beta, if they put these playlists in to sort of force people to try the non-team deathmatch mode so they can see how they go.
Well, I mean, if they wanted to do that, I would rather them put a playlist that is like some of the objective modes where you actually have, like, you know, points to defend or attack. That sort of mode, like a more CS:GO or Rainbow Six kind of thing, rather than just team deathmatch, but you have to pick up an item. I would rather them have actually, you know, put some objective-based stuff in there for people to try out.
Fair enough.
the thing that beta has taught me the most, though, other than gamers are bad at playing to the objective, a thing that I've played enough Overwatch to know where that's going. Like, nobody knows how to play the objective, even in objective-based games. The number one thing that I've taken away from Black Ops 4 is I miss jetpacks. Black Ops 3 had jetpacks and wall running because it was more futuristic than this one, which is still futuristic, but not as futuristic as the previous game, which is a confusing nightmare. But jetpacks and wall running are gone, and I miss that.
So, is Call of Duty Black Ops III between...
it is between
2 and 3?
Yes, it is between 2 and 3.
Cool.
Yeah. It's kind of I believe it's the Street Fighter... Is it Street Fighter 4 equivalent?
Did they
Street Fighter 4 took
well?
place in between like Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 5.
Actually, I think...
Or Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 2, because Street Fighter 5 comes first, and then Street Fighter 2 comes later in the timeline. It's all a...
I think Devil May Cry did that too, right? Because Devil May Cry 4 was after 2, but before 3 or something.
Video game timelines are a mess. Do you ever think about Metal Gear Solid and how much of a fucking mess that timeline is? Because it's a absolute travesty.
I have to look it up every time because I don't know what happened.
Metal Gear Solid 5, the first game is Metal Gear Solid 3, and then it goes off to Peace Walker, and then 5, and then it goes back to 1 and 2.
Before 5 is Ground Zeroes, which is like a miniature game.
Which is part of 5.
I've got 5 and I don't have Ground Zeroes.
Which is fair.
It was sold separately.
It was sold separately, but it's technically part of that narrative.
It's the prequel to 5.
Yes.
But it's a prequel game. Anyway.
Fucking Metal Gear Solid timeline's a mess. Video game timelines in general are just such a mess. We can't just keep doing things in order. We have to increase the number of the thing while also making it a prequel.
Well, the alternative is Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, God. Don't remind me. Actually, I almost prefer that approach, or the more blunt and straightforward approach of Borderlands.
Yeah, I was just thinking Borderlands. Yeah, that was
like that was straightforward and honest. Like you came into that knowing straight up, oh, so this is a sequel that comes before the sequel. Got it. It is a pre-sequel.
It's the middle one. Yeah.
It's the middle one. It's the middle child of the Borderlands series, which also holds true for just what that game is in general. It's very much the middle child. It's weird and experimental and definitely feels like it belongs in between those two games. You know?
I still find it weird that everyone on the moon was Australian.
Oh, God.
Like it's okay weird. It's not like bad weird, but
no, it's funny weird.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Oh, goodness. Back on topic, Call of Duty stuff.
That all set off from you saying the word jetpacks.
Yeah, that did. Oh my God. Which jetpacks in Borderlands, it's also a thing that was fun. Ultimate abilities are still kind of a weird thing in Call of Duty. I think I said that, perhaps.
You said they were in the previous game.
Sorry?
You'd said they're in the previous game, so they're in this one as well.
They're also in this one. They still have some of the ultimate abilities, and because some of the cast of 3 is returning in 4, but like younger and without all of the technology that they had at that point, some of those ultimates, they're pre-returning. Some of those ultimates are still kind of preserved, which is kind of neat. I don't like the gadgets. Like frag grenades and stuff like that are bound to specific characters too. Like that's a thing. It's just kind of weird and bothersome. Especially when you have like previous games. Oh yeah, you can customize all of that and you can choose to have grenades or not. But here you have to have the grenade guy. And the grenade guy has the grenades. And if you don't get the grenade guy, you don't get the grenades.
I mean, it's not as though that never works, because like there's the Grenadier class in XCOM, and that works fine, having the one that's focused on explosives, but that's a completely different genre as well. And
yeah, it's a single-player tactics game.
Yeah, is this, you have the one character that you're playing at a time, and if you don't pick the person with grenades, you just don't have grenades.
Yep, that's it. Kind of a weird... It's kind of a weird thing.
Although I basically never use grenades in first person shooters. Like, I don't even know the key for grenade in Fallout.
I use them somewhat frequently.
I get killed by them somewhat frequently, but I don't use
them. They're useful as a tactical option. Like, good for stalling and stuff like that.
I think I've used a mine once in that game, and it was just shooting one that was already on the ground.
Fair. In terms of just sheer PC performance of the Black Ops 4 beta, by the way, I have a modest PC, I want to say. 970 FX 8350 for anybody who knows what any of that means. But kind of a modest system by modern standards. Runs pretty fucking well. I maintain 75 FPS.
Oh, wow.
Which, that's my monitor's refresh rate. I know it's kind of a weird one, but I kept solid 75.
Nice.
So I came away with a pretty good impression of performance in that game. Yardnome737 in our chat, however, says it did not run great on my machine, and I have a friend who said the same. Full disclosure, I did do a full display driver uninstaller and then a clean install of my GPU drivers, running the latest version, so perhaps that's a factor here. They did release a specific driver for that at the time, so I might have gotten a little bit of an advantage there. I don't know.
Every time I hear about things like that, it just makes me remember how easy console gaming is in comparison.
God, console gaming is so easy by comparison, but like nothing really compares to how personal PC gaming is.
But it can be so much work.
It can be so much work, but I think the thing that I ultimately like about PC gaming is everything is very personal to me. Like, I have spent lots and lots of time making sure that, like, you know, I've chosen my gear personally. I've chosen my PC parts personally. I've chosen all my individual settings, and I'm choosing what visual sacrifices or benefits, I guess, I want to get out of a given game. Like, I get to make a lot of those decisions.
I suppose the fact that I tend to use laptops means I don't see that as much, because, you know, laptops come as a package. You don't pick out and choose the different components for them.
You could pick some stuff, like if you started looking at external components, like you'd be picking up the keyboard and mouse and stuff like that. And I've gotten all of that. But yeah, like it feels like a very intensely personal thing to play a game on a PC at all. I think I'll always like that over console.
Fair enough.
So that's that. That's the actual PC beta impressions. The other thing I want to talk about without, like, I can't let Call of Duty just slide away, just me talking about the beta relatively positively, all things considered. Let's talk about the shitty business practices associated with Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
Oh yeah?
Always a thing I enjoy doing. Call of Duty continues their trend of splitting their multiplayer player base by having DLC map packs at all that exist, and when you buy them, they'll split up the player base. Nobody's going to buy them on PC anyway, so like if you're getting a season pass for the map packs, you are probably wasting your money.
Why do you say no one's going to buy them?
Like, historically, those DLC map packs, regardless of game on PC, in this region, actually, let me be clear, in the Oceania region, it tends to be a worthless purchase because nobody's playing those maps. The community just gets too fragmented by the fact that it's a separate purchase, and you have more than enough people who are content to just play the base game on PC. Right. I think on consoles, it tends to be a bit better. You actually have people playing it because the audience is so much bigger for these games on console.
I'm really surprised to hear that the new maps aren't just free. Like, that seems like the thing to do now anyway.
It seems to be the new standard. Like, you look at EA, even. Like, you look at Battlefield, which is coming out in a couple months as well. Mm-hmm. Battlefield is not doing that. Battlefield said, fuck the premium pass. We're not doing that shit this year. Like, we had done it prior, and it is no longer the thing to do. Like, we looked at Titanfall, we looked at Star Wars, and those things have worked out pretty well for us. Star Wars loot box debacle aside, not fragmenting your player base and just slowly trickling out maps instead, like just adding new stuff that everybody can play, that tends to go over better with your community and doesn't fragment the player base and gives everyone, fresh incentive to jump back into the game. It ends up being pretty good for everyone involved, as it turns out. I kind of hope they go the Titanfall approach with Battlefields, where Titanfall has microtransactions insofar as like, oh, you can buy some like Prime skins, which are like just you can buy a unique Titan skin, that sort of thing. You can buy various customization things, but you always know exactly what you're getting. There's no loot boxes involved there. You just get the thing that you paid for, and that is how you end up supporting the game. It's totally optional, no effect on anybody else's gameplay, just kind of a thing that you can get. I kind of hope they keep that model up, because I don't like a lot of multiplayer approaches nowadays. Like, I don't like the way that Battlefield does loot boxes, Overwatch has loot boxes. Like, I don't like a lot of these approaches.
Yeah, the main one I get exposure to was the Mass Effect one. I've talked before about how much I did not like the random card unlock thing.
No, it's kind of bad. And don't get me wrong, I still get excited every time I get like a loot box in Overwatch. But like,
I mean, you're meant to.
I know, but like, I'm still excited every time I get one of those, but I don't want to see them in any more games, I think it's time that new games kind of moved on.
I mean, random drops and stuff I think are fun. Like, I enjoy it in Diablo, but
yeah,
there's sometimes where it just is not done in a way that works.
Yeah. Yardnome says, the gaming community did not deserve Titanfall 2. Well, rather, Titanfall 2 is exactly what the community deserved, but it went completely ignored. Yeah. And it's a fucking shame. Titanfall 2 was slept on in a major way, and I'm bummed every time I think about that.
What was the story? Did it come out at the same time as some other game or something?
It came out at the same time as like every other big shooter of the year.
Right.
Like within the same month. And it was an excellent game by all accounts. Mm-hmm. And I played it for months and months after its release because it's a good fucking game. But it has been tragically slept on by the vast majority of the gaming community. And it's really disappointing to me.
Especially for a game that kind of relies on having enough people playing it to have fun multiplayer, right?
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, that campaign is worth the price of entry, at least. Like, it's one of the best. It's one of the best shooter campaigns ever released, I want to say.
Okay.
It does some really, really bold and interesting stuff. So I would highly recommend that you play that campaign if you haven't. It's easily one of the best shooter campaigns ever released. Seriously, what a treat. Back to shitty business practices with Activision. The season pass. This is a little bit of hearsay. I want to be clear about that. A little bit of hearsay from people who are paying a little bit more attention to this than I am at the present time. But I have heard that the season pass may be unavailable to purchase separately from the deluxe version of the game at this current time. I believe that is not the case anymore, or won't be after launch, but I know for a fact that you cannot purchase individual items of that DLC, as it has been the case with several of the more recent previous Call of Duty
Since we didn't call it a season pass, then.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't purchase the individual items, that's all. Like, you still get the pass with everything included. It's still the full, season of content. But you cannot get the individual, like, here is map pack 1. Here is map pack 2. You can buy each map pack for $10, or you can buy the season pass for $15. There's nothing like that. You just have to purchase the season pass. That and the the game has no campaign, so it being multiplayer only and still at the same like $100 price tag. I want to be clear, $100. It feels very steep.
Yeah,
to ask for just a competitive multiplayer experience. Like even Overwatch, which is not that expensive. Overwatch is $60, I believe.
I so rarely feel like paying $100 for a game anymore. It feels like a once-a-year thing for me now when there's something I'm really excited about. Like Monster Hunter, I paid.
Yeah, I was about to say, Monster Hunter was your thing this year, hey.
Yeah, and nothing else has come up that I don't know if I bought anything else at full price, unless its full price was like $25 or less.
Right.
I don't know, maybe I just get less excited about new releases, or I'm happy to play older games. But yeah, although, and again, this is from someone who doesn't play competitive multiplayer, the idea of buying a $100 game that's multiplayer only, I will always have in the back of my head that one day I will feel like playing this game, but I won't be able to, even though I own it, because no one else is playing it, and for some reason that stops me playing it. It feels so weirdly wrong.
Yeah.
For kind of the same reason that I've talked about not liking subscription payments before.
Yeah, there's a part of you that's tied up in that, no matter kind of how you slice that.
Yeah, it's like I've got games from 15 years ago that I could play, because I still own them, if I could find them and like my Game Boy or whatever. But yeah. But like I could, like I can see my PSP from here, and if I could. I don't know if it still works, but if it does, I could play the games on it. I hope it still works. There are some good games on there that I haven't played in many years. One day I'll play through Crisis Core again. One day.
You could always dump the ROMs for them and play them yourself on your PC.
I could, but I don't know, there's something about playing it on the actual console. Although PSP was not a well-designed, like, structurally where all this stuff is.
No. Having nostalgia for actual hardware feels kind of weird to me as someone who hasn't always had access to actual hardware for a lot of reasons. And if you wanted to have access to actual retro hardware, it's expensive.
Yeah, it definitely is. So I was more thinking of what do I own that's old, but then realizing everything that I own on PC now is on Steam, just about. But, like, I owned games before Steam, I just don't know where they are now, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think Steam... Was Fallout 3 the first Bethesda game that was on Steam? And, like, you had to get it through Steam?
No, because that was Games for Windows Live for a while.
Oh, God. It was.
I think it still has the Games for Windows Live stuff in there, and it was never patched out.
No, I think they did pull it out eventually.
I don't think they did. Like, I think you still have to use a mod to get rid of it. I could be wrong about that, but
I think they pulled it up. I don't know for sure. Maybe it was Skyrim was the first one that was like stuck on it.
I think Skyrim would have been the first, like, Steam only. And, like, Oblivion definitely wasn't. You could get Oblivion without that.
I've still got Oblivion at my parents' house. I've still got Morrowind at my parents' house that I could go and pick up and play. Although I also own both of them on Steam, so I wouldn't need to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the whole idea of I own the game. I can play it whenever I want. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure multiplayer can be fun. I know a lot of people enjoy it, but it feels weird that it has to eventually die because people move on.
Yeah, there's like multiplayer is always kind of weird because there's just a moment for it. And I already have FOMO bad enough, you know? Like, I already hate missing out on anything, so if I miss out on a multiplayer game's moment and come to it late, like, it's always just disappointing. Or if I want to come back to it and the moment has passed, it again is just disappointing.
Makes it hard as well for people who can't afford them until the price comes down a bunch.
Yeah, or people who are just like buying one thing a year, you know?
Yeah.
These moments just kind of come and go for video games, and it's kind of... It's both necessary and kind of depressing, I guess.
Is it necessary?
I mean, it's... necessary, maybe the wrong word.
Okay.
Inevitable? I feel like it's inevitable. Like, there's always something going forward. And no matter what we do, like, you know, time passes, things are just going to keep moving forward. Things having a moment isn't necessarily bad, and, like, you know, people move on.
But,
and it is...
Okay. People
it's
move
an
on,
inevitability.
But I will always occasionally want to go back and play Chrono Trigger again.
Yeah. There will always be this like lingering nostalgia.
And the fact that I can still go and do that, I mean, I've also got like 4 copies of it on different things now, but I could go back and play the original, well, emulated version since I never had a Super Nintendo or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm just sad when things stop, when things end. It's always sad.
I need to pull up an article, I think. About like the deaths of MMOs.
Oh yeah. And you read about people who play on the custom servers that are like the older versions of it. Didn't something happen with that with World of Warcraft recently?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of World of Warcraft like legal action because Blizzard was shutting stuff like that down. Let's see. Because I know there was a couple articles like a while back about like the deaths of various MMOs and just like people's last moments with them. Like just everyone gathering together and, you know, like paying respects to each other's time for that. I will find an article about this and I will link it in the show notes in the released episode. I think we'll bring this back next week. I think that'll be something I bring back next week. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's a really interesting topic, and I want to continue this conversation, but I think I need more prep time for it. So let's come back to this next week. Now, in the lead up to next week, Mark, what are you going to be playing?
I don't know how I'm going to split my time between Battletech and Fallout 4, but I feel like those are the 2 games I'm like most likely to play. Right. I don't want to stop Fallout 4 right when I've started to get into the DLC. I picked it up for again after I've sunk 30 plus hours into it. That would just be ridiculous. But I do ridiculous things sometimes, so hopefully that won't be one of them. Battletech's just been a kind of a nice thing that I've done half an hour or an hour or whatever, depending on how many missions I want to do on most evenings, and just enjoyed building up my little pirate crew, which is how I've been doing it this time. But yeah, those are the two games I expect to be playing this week. I don't know if I'll play both, but it'll be at least one of them, I'm sure. How about you?
I think over the course of this next week, I'm going to spend some more time with Fallout New Vegas, a game that I have been enjoying streaming tremendously. I talked a little bit about that last week. Also, just Call of Duty. I've had that itch for. Fuck off. I've had this itch for a Twitch shooter more than Overwatch is not a Twitch shooter. Not in the same way that Call of Duty is. Like, the time to kill in Overwatch is so much higher. Mm-hmm. So I'm spending a little bit more time with that, because there's still folks who play it. I've had this... It is very much a weird itch. The other thing I'm spending some time with is maybe going to be Far Cry 5. A game that I have promised myself I'm going to get through, and then immediately cleanse my palate with Wolfenstein 2. Because Far Cry 5, by all accounts, is politically toothless, but mechanically solid. So I want to play that, and then I want to immediately cleanse my palate with something that is explicitly and very, very non-stop, intensively political.
That was on a big sale recently as well, wasn't it? I think I was seeing it on Steam.
Yeah.
It was really cheap.
There's QuakeCon sale, because it's a Bethesda game.
I almost picked it up, but I was just hesitant because I know about the uber violence stuff. I don't know if I'll be able to make myself get through it.
If it goes up on a free weekend or something, I'll let you know.
Thanks, because I would definitely try it out if that happened.
I don't know if it ever will, but a worst case scenario, I guess you could always pick up the first game, because it is tonally going to be a lot of the same. You could always pick that game up for very, very cheap and see if you could get through it.
Fair enough.
I think it is a worthwhile investment, because that game kicks so much ass. That game kicks so much ass. Wolfenstein, The New Order rules. Wolfenstein, The Old Blood rules. And what I have played in a previous playthrough of Wolfenstein 2 rules. Those are good video games. Fuck Nazis. Petroleum asks, have either of you heard the good news about Frozen Synapse 2? I don't know what Frozen Synapse is.
No, it rings a bell. I'm sure I've seen it on Steam, but that's as far as it goes for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, I think we are going to wrap this show up. Thank you so much for listening to this 90th episode of PauseCast. If you like what you heard and want to support the show, there's a few ways you could do that. First, you could leave a rating or review on iTunes or on your platform of choice. Another thing you could do is share the show with a friend, neighbor, or just someone who you think who would enjoy it. You can also support us financially if you'd like to do so. And we have a couple ways you can do that. The first is by donating to our coffee at bit.ly/pausecoffee. That allows you to send us a one-time financial donation. You can also support the show month to month by visiting patreon.com/pausecastshow. Thank you so much to all of our current patrons. Ash, Dove, Gray, Corybat, Mary, Moth, Para, and Sammy for their thank you all for your continued support of the show. It means a lot.
Yeah.
Mark, where can people find you in the online?
I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I write a blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com.
And I am at bird.school, and that'll take you to my Twitter, which is at TLQT. You can also find me at discord.bird.school. I'm a little bit more active on Discord than I am on basically any other social network. So if you wanted to get at me, that's probably the best way to do it. Got a little cozy little community up on that server. I highly recommend it. I'm a little bit biased, but I highly recommend it. All right, I think that's it. I think that wraps us up. That's the show.
Music.
We did it. Music. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. You can find Leon's music and download some of it for free at soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. That's it. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.